So the heroes of Middenheim. Not sure what I make of them at all. On one hand, they were exactly as the rumours said. Brash, arrogant, here with flimsy evidence that suggests corruption and incompetence. That I'd not be aware of some smuggling operation or cult activity right under my nose. The lady herself even attempted to pull rank over me. Ha! And yet, some of the things they said did not mesh at all with the gossip. They almost did seem earnest in their desire to simply help the Empire and nothing more. I must admit, the idea that some of those who serve me hiding things from me is deeply troubling. Hildegard always says to consider things from every angle. If they are right, then it is my duty to allow them to prove it. So I will give them a chance. Let us see what they find. Father would kill me. The Todbringers have taken so much from us over the decades. But if there is a chance they are telling the truth, I must let them tell it. Let's see what they find. This is Red Moon Roleplaying. It is roughly now midday at the picket line, as Lady Sigfrida and Gerna Stark survey what lies beyond the picket line to the east. Gerna Stark, what you've seen has made you feel very unwell, and you are now being escorted down the stairs, down back to the lower levels by this priestess. But you, Sigfrida, wanted to remain just for a few more moments and chat with the nearest wall soldier. There are, as you look both north and south, maybe 10 or 12 other soldiers up here right now. Although that doesn't seem nearly enough to you, if this really is as important a picket line as you're being told. But here is one soldier, a young woman dressed in the colours of House Karsberger. She bows before you, respectfully enough, although you don't need to roll. She has that suspicious look in her eyes that all the soldiers keep having as they glance at you, but she doesn't dare say or do anything rude or impolite to you as she says, "My lady, you had questions, all right, what do you need?"
Oh, please, no need for nerves. And believe me, I don't approach you expecting you to know anything more than anyone else. But sometimes I feel that speaking to someone whose feet are on the ground rather than cloistered in some safe reserve somewhere is more useful than the other way round. And I smile, trying to invoke some kind of hatred of authority from her. Not a blistering one. I'm not expecting her to spit on the ground and condemn her officers, but, you know, it's harder when I'm being introduced to everyone as a lady and not as just some common peasant made good, but I'll do what I can. I look back in the direction Gerna has headed. I'll have to catch up with him soon, so I'm not going to linger here long. Yes, I had a few questions for you, and I'm sure you are as much of an authority on this as anyone else. That barren land out there, reaching toward the mountains and deep into the distance, where we've heard of this fabled brass keep and such. We've heard that to step beyond the picket line is basically death. How does that death come about? Is it that the earth revolts against you? Is the air full of poisons? Are there creatures buried in there that seize anyone who dares tread too close to the mountains? How does it happen?
Well, I ain't seen it myself, milady. I've only served here 10 years, and the last march was in my father's day, maybe 40, 50 years ago.
Really? So no one has stepped off on those badlands for 5 decades?
No, it's too dangerous, they say. We have to... If someone were to, we have to assume that they're not well, and we have orders to shoot anybody who's coming from that direction if we see them.
And does anyone ever approach from that direction?
Well, no. But they say, well, my father says, he served here too, that... Well, it's not that you'll die straight away. You actually probably could take a horse, and you could probably go in that direction for maybe 10, 20 minutes, and you'd probably be fine. It's when you get to the keep itself, they say it starts. The rot, they call it.
A physical rot or a mental one?
Both.
Oh,
they say it comes from... They say it takes your soul, my lady. It starts slow. It's highly contagious, and it will spread rashes, boils. That's just the start.
So understandable then why you would pepper someone like that with arrows, should you see them. But all of this said, so you and your fellow soldiers here who are doing incredible work, it's more bravery that you are showing than anyone I have ever met. You've stood here for years, womaned your post, and in all of those years, not a one enemy has shown their face.
Not coming towards us, no. But we got telescopes. You can sometimes see them.
Oh, how wonderful that you're equipped with the height of technology as well. So not a one has approached, and yet and I say this not to discredit your bravery, because you are, as I say, brave to hold a post such as this, even despite the lack of attackers. I can sense from your voice that even to discuss this area is still, well, it troubles you.
Well, of course. You can... Can't you feel it, my lady? Like, you can... And she just looks in that direction for a moment and just says... It's like... Sometimes when it's dark, you can see lights, and... It's like you know they're there, and well, the last time they went, we know they're there. They say the beings there are the size of, like, giants. Well, no, maybe not giants. Like, maybe ogres. And they can kill 10, 20 men with one sword swing. And then, that's if you don't get the rot, or the walls, like, raining down with, like, acid and poison. And there's things in the air as well, and...
I see. So, well, we can just thank the gods then, can we not, that none of these ogres, giants, or trolls and hobgoblins have made their way across this wasteland in the last 50 years or more.
Yes, of course. Thank Ulrich, thank Sigmar.
I will do. Before I sleep tonight, I will be saying my prayers. Just one last question, then I will leave you to it. Has there ever been a rumoured method, a safe way? You're saying that the rot doesn't set in until you reach the Brass Keep. For these accounts to have come back, someone must have returned. So is there a purported safe method of reaching the keep or coming back from it without these illnesses? And I'm just asking for rumour, if you haven't encountered anyone who's been there and come back again for 50 years, well, that's well beyond your lifespan. I mean, your current age. But have you heard of anything? A story round a campfire?
Well, of course. There were survivors from the last time. Barely any. They said, how many was it? They said 400. And there was about maybe 50 that came back, and of the 50, 40 were lost to the rot. Obviously, if you have a lot of wizards and priests, they say the spells can protect you for a little time.
I see. Spells, magic. I suppose 50 years ago was a long time ago in the way of medicine. Many advances have been made since then.
Well, I mean, I suppose if you have some medicine that cures the rot, thank you, and there ain't no medicine that cures that, but maybe you had it. That might at least mean you could get there. You'd still have to deal with the monsters.
But no tunnels, no secret passages through the mountains, nothing like that.
She looks around for a moment, looking at the mountains. She frowns. I mean, everyone knows there's dwarven ruins and holes in these mountains, but...
Ah, now that is the kind of thing I'm interested in. See, I didn't know that. But You're saying that there are ruins, so where the dwarves used to make their mines, their towns and streets and so on, those are still there.
Well, that's true, although they're a lot further away, and... Well, I'll tell you this, if there were a tunnel, we'd all have been screwed, wouldn't we?
Well, I'm sure not with your archery and that of the rest of the strong and, dare I say, brave guards manning this
No,
post.
you misunderstand me, my lady. No, we'd be doomed. If there was a tunnel, they could come from behind, and then... She gestures to the camp. No wall there. No, we'd have been... Gosh, if there were a tunnel, we'd... I've never thought of that before. Should we tell the commander that?
I don't think so. If there's been no evidence of a tunnel in the last 50 years and you've not heard scraping in the ground while you've been trying to sleep, though, forgive me if I have now planted an idea in your mind. I imagine we're quite safe from being undermined. I'll leave you to your post. I've taken up enough of your time. But thank you so much. You've been a great assist.
She looks at you a little oddly for a moment. But then she does nod and bow and say, well, of course, thank you, my lady. Again, we all serve the Empire here, but we also serve House Carlsberger. They've been the ones holding the picket line, just so you know, that they've done good work here.
I've heard nothing but good things about House Carlsberger, and while I have no link to the Graf, to House Carlsberger, or any of the noble families of Middenheim, I am, of course, aware of your bravery and that of your house. Even though, even with the rumours of black powder that seem to be going all around the place, wherever those started. Anyway, thank you for your information.
She nods and you depart.
As I'm walking off, difficult to not stand in judgment, catching up with Gurna, who I imagine is standing up a little more straight now. This is all a little... I understand fears, of course, especially ones born from monsters, diseases, and so on. It's natural to develop a healthy superstition about things that might hurt you or the people close to you. And if out of 200 odd people, only 10 ultimately survived the last round of explorations or attacks on the Brass Keep, well, sure. It makes sense that people are nervous, but is this really the best that House Carlsberger can situate on their vital picket line? Is it as vital as they're making out? The fact that we have an individual here who is clearly terrified of, well, from what sounds to me, stars. She looks out in the dark and she sees lights. Well, either she's seeing the sky and is getting alarmed, or there are people living out in the mountains and she's getting alarmed. She hasn't ever had to loose an arrow in anger. And not on this picket line, anyway. And she is still mortally afraid for her life, for her spiritual health. I am shaking my head as I get back to you, Gurna.
Gurna Stark, you hear Siegfried say these words, and it all sounds very logical. Except that you've seen it. You saw what's in that keep, and it caused you to vomit. There is something terrible there. The most terrible thing you've ever felt or seen in your life.
I stand there, by the lower parts then of the wall, catching my breath a little bit, and I don't know if the priestess is still there or if she went back, but as the Siegfried comes back and is muttering about these things, I straighten up a little bit, and I look at you, seeing you shake your head, as you described, and I say, well, it's certainly something that I've had enough of. all through my days. Goodness knows I've been a superstitious kind. Where I come from, everyone believes in black cats and things that you should avoid for this and that reason. Seems like this whole place is just one big maelstrom of ideas of what might possibly kill you one night coming out from there. I was trying to figure it out myself. But I did see something. I did feel something. There is a foul part to me wants to say magic, but I think it's more than that. An existence of some kind. Death, decay, tunnels in that tower, bile and disease. Something is going on out there, and they must live on something. They must breed on something. This is a wasteland. If supplies are being shipped out there somehow, it would have to be that way. Nothing comes from nothing.
As you say that, the priestess who had briefly stepped away does seem to have suddenly stepped behind you as you've been speaking, and she just bows her head and quietly remarks, "That's the problem. They say the things there are no longer human. They say they no longer need to eat, or sleep, or drink. If the things there were human, you would be right, sir, but they are not. They are no longer remotely human, whatever is in that place."
They say that. Yes, I understand. Believe me, I don't want to come in here and think I know better than anyone that's been stationed here for a good part of their life. But again, who knows this? Who has seen this? Who has witnessed any of this for real? Anything coming from there indicating this?
There are movements there. We can see things sometimes. But for why they do not come, we do not know. Why does the arch-enemy do anything? They just seem to want to destroy our world. None of it makes much sense at the end of the day, really, does it?
I scratch my cheek and look over to Siegfrieda.
Siegfrieda, would you like to roll Lore Demonology? Give yourself a +10.
Oh, my first go at that. Well, in that case I need to roll at a 78. Okay, that is a success. I roll a 30.
Decay, disease, life without death. You have to admit, at the back of your mind, that this, on paper, everything you've said sounds very logical, but you've read those books, and they did mention, didn't they say, some of the gifts of one known as Nurgle? Some of his gifts were apparently freedom from life, eternal being, and also disease and decay. It was a little bit paradoxical. How can something that brings disease and death give you eternal life? But again, you didn't read too much more than that, after all.
No, and I do believe, of course I know that magic exists. I know that monsters exist. I know that supernatural disease exists, and we have encountered people who have lived far longer than their due. But what I struggle to understand, and I don't voice this, I look at the priestess who seems equally, well, not quite as scared, but she seems trepidatious. Maybe because I haven't experienced the same visions as Gurna, or maybe because I'm a little jaded based on my research. I don't understand the lack of curiosity. I don't understand why these people here have nothing but fear toward what's out there. And I'll say to the priestess, well, if there are, and I am sure there are, beings out there, has there been any sign that they are mustering for a fight? Have you seen increased movements or signs of greater number? More lights in the night, for instance, than there were a month or a year ago?
She shakes her head and says in a tone that seems to almost admit to what you're saying. No. There has been no movement there for 50, 60 years, not since the last mustering. The last true movements that are recorded are, of course, when the keep was first taken. 200 years ago, during, the Great War against Chaos. For that, the keep has changed owners several times according to historical record. It was owned by us here. It was at one point owned by Ostland, of course, directly east. And then, of course, its original owner, a necromancer, said to only be chased away, by Sigmar himself.
And now, as far as the records are concerned, it is barren, because we haven't been out there for 5 decades.
It is considered a cursed place, and any attempt to go there is met with death.
Yes.
The commander would love to lead us away. She would love Reichland, Middenland to send people to help. They have not. We can't do it with just what we have here.
Well, did you learn anything more of substance when you were up there, Siegfrieda?
Oh, well, only that the survival rate from visiting there seems to be somewhere like... Well, it's probably not worth mentioning, but it's pretty grim. There are dwarf ruins out there. So that may be, should anyone ever need to travel out that way, they may provide some cover, some defense. But this is all just to satisfy my curiosity, especially regarding how you fell ill, the subject of this black powder. Hopefully Heinrich and Kruger will be able to find out a little about that.
Indeed. Kruger, Hoffman, you were sent in the direction of the storehouse, which is the 6th building, the one closest to the south of the 6 buildings that make up this fortification. But on the way, of course, you do pass and you do see the Inquisitor, his 2 friends / staff, it's hard to know actually with them, and then of course your coach. They do seem to be in the middle of a conversation, though, as you head over. Inquisitor Schilf. Emmeline has been a little impatient. Inquisitor, I don't know. This all seems like a waste of time. We are witch hunters. I'm not seeing any witches here right now. They could be hidden in the soldiers, I suppose, but is this really what... This wasn't really what I was expecting to do when we got our training.
In my initial training... would I have learned of the history of this place?
A small footnote. Brass keep. It was mentioned. It's some sort of cursed keep. The borders of the Middle Mountains. Of little strategic value unless you're having a war with Ostland, and Ostland are no longer that interested. From here, you keep going north. Eventually, you hit the very border of the Empire itself. Apparently, it was taken during the Great War of Chaos, which is when, of course, the last chaotic horde came from the north, from Norska. But then it was all taken back, essentially, except this one little mountain keep. And apparently before that it was always a cursed place, with many people who dwelt there or tried to hold it, suffering from various ill omens. There was even a Temple of Sigmar here at one point, which is now completely gone, you think. And the only other things you'd know are, of course, things that almost seem like mythology. Sigmar did many deeds. He, after all, was supposedly a mortal man who single-handedly created the Empire with his bare hands. You do recall stories that, didn't he come here and cleanse the place? But, well, if that was true, then why is it so cursed now?
I appreciate your desire for action, Interrogator, and believe me, I understand that from my own background. But we are faced with 2 facts that I think you'll find relevant and might soothe your patience. The first being that powder bearing the mark of this motley band was detected somewhere that we did find a witch, that we did find the taint of the archenemy. And it has come from a place that we know our great progenitor, once had to cleanse chaos. I am a simple and direct man, Emmeline. There's chaos in that mountain, and we have found it elsewhere.
Bertha nods a little, although she says, "All true, Inquisitor, but well, what can we do? I mean, we are a small unit. I believe I would love to see a full unit of knights here. Maybe we can make a report. Maybe it can reach the Emperor's ears and he can send some people here finally."
Indeed, we shall make a report. First, we have to find something to report. And that, Emmeline, is the work that we will do. It can't always be smashing the enemy with hammers. Sometimes you have to find the enemy first.
Bertha nods in agreement. Emmeline doesn't seem very satisfied with that answer. And you can see in the coach that this lovely young lady, the apprentice of Siegfrieda, is just doing her best to knit something and stay out of the way. This is the scene you find Kruger Hoffman as you come back to the coach and your friends. What do you do?
Well, I walk up to Heinrich and I say, Heinrich, has there been any developments out here?
No, you see, for example, Emmeline, sometimes the enemy comes as a friend, a thief in the night. We were just discussing the lack of obvious action.
Yes, the place does seem quite sleepy, but we did receive information that there's supposed to be all kinds of nefarious things going on underneath the surface. We have spoken to the commander of the picket here, and have gotten permission to investigate.
Let me guess, everything was normal? He's seen nothing strange?
She, a Lady Emmeline von Karsberger, she didn't have anything really to report as far as she could think of. She was quite suspicious, actually, of the people who have sent us here. The Baron and the Baroness. She seemed to think that there was some kind of plot that we were part of that's directed at the picket and against her and the people here.
In fairness, we do find ourselves engaged in a lot of plots, don't we?
Well, you're right there, actually. It's true. But this time, there is honestly no mistaken identities or frauds that we are attempting to commit, so I don't know. But what I do know is that all the information that we received before coming here was that there was supposed to be some form of smuggling going on. And my thinking was that if there's anyone who would know anything about any kind of illicit materials arriving here or coming or going, it would be the person who's handling the logistics of the place, the quartermaster. There's a Willis Habicht who is the person in charge, and I was thinking I'd head over there and see if I could get some information from him, and I'd be honored if you would join me, unless you and the rest of the Inquisitors here, if you have other things that you would like to look into.
Oh no, I think if we're going to find out how powder's gone missing, the person responsible for the powder is as good a place as any to start. Are we sure we should leave? And I'll kind of glance towards the carriage. Lady Siegfrieda's person unattended?
Emmeline steps forward and says, "Inquisitor, we can guard the coach and guard the supplies. I mean, do you need us all to interrogate a supply master?"
I wouldn't presume to relegate you to guard duty, but if you would like to volunteer interrogator, I don't know much of that woman, but I can't imagine she's cut out for the kind of things we'll get ourselves into.
Emmeline smirks a little, and at this, Bertha comes forward as well and says, "Do not worry, Inquisitor. I will remain with Emmeline, and, we can see where you're going. You're literally just going down there, right?" And she points to the storehouse. Again, Heinrich and Kruger, you can see that at the end of the day, this place is not large. It is a small military outpost. You can see pretty much everything going on most of the time as you look around.
Well, I think that'd be prudent. They're more likely to speak to us if they don't feel, well, like they're being mobbed by 4 armed individuals.
Fair enough. Interrogators, please, yes, tend to our guest and keep an eye on comings and goings. I'd like to know anything about anyone who departs while we're away.
Emmeline nods and then does just gesture to some of those horsemen who you can see just standing nearby. Well, of course, Inquisitor, although I'm curious, why have they got a cavalry unit? Like, why are they off in the woods? Do they not dwell in the stable? That's suspicious to me.
It's not true of Kislevites that they do just live in the woods. I don't recall them being a sedentary folk.
That's true, but you have looked north, and it is a little unusual. The only explanation you can come up with is, do they have their own little camp in the woods? Nothing wrong with that, just unusual. Why would it be out in the woods?
No, look, the last time I went and met a camp full of people in the woods, it didn't go well. The Kislevites can have it.
Very well then. To the pair of you then make your way to the southern barracks building that you've been informed is the supply barracks.
It's a good place to start as any.
Then you make your way there, again passing by the patrols. You're taking a head count, Heinrich. You think you see at least 100, 200? Maybe there's 300 men-at-arms here. But that's still not a lot. If this is truly an important picket, you'd really expect double that.
Well, there's important with a capital I, and then there's important where we all roll our eyes. We'll see. If it is undermanned and undersupplied, then that will be further evidence for our cause.
I look around on the way. I mean, do we see a lot of deliveries of food? I mean, 300 people is still quite a lot of mouths to feed. There's presumably no... Well, they're not growing any food here, presumably, right? So there must be a lot of deliveries coming in, right?
That would make sense, although not at this moment in time. But as you get to the supply building, you do see evidence of some horse and carts and lots of stacks of crates. It does seem as if someone comes here and gives them things.
Well, that's good, at least. All right. Well, I'll look out for the quartermaster then and see if I can locate them. If not, I will ask anyone who happens to be working here for Quartermaster Willis Havoc.
Indeed, it does not take long. You pass by a few men-at-arms, they direct you into the building. The building itself is clearly a supply depot. There are lots of crates and areas for things to be placed. You can smell grain in the air. You can see weapon racks. And finally, you're directed to the man in question. He is a middle-aged man, balding on the top of his head, but with a big, thick grey beard. He is dressed, as everyone else, in the house colours of House Carlsberger, and he gestures for you to come into his small little office and nods to you. Ah, yes, the emissaries from the Graf, the Toddbringers. Welcome. How can this humble quartermaster help you today?
My name is Commissioner Hoffman with Middenheim, yes, and joining me is Inquisitor Schof.
Very impressive.
Yes, I figured the titles would be impressive.
Oh, very impressive, yes, Inquisitor. Oh, gosh, I haven't seen any witches, sir. I think I would have noticed them. But I'll keep an eye out, though. Keep an eye out.
Much appreciated.
Well, we have received permission to look into something that we've received reports about, which is that there might be some form of smuggling or other illicit equipment here, and also that there's some powder missing.
Oh, well, there isn't. But all right, come in the office then. He gestures for you to follow him a little to the back, and you are directed to an office. There's a lot of crates and barrels here, and an area full of paperwork. Currently, half of it on the floor, and some of it seems to be in a barrel, and then there's some on a shelf. There's a bunch of candles here, ink on dried parchment. The place is an absolute mess, but this man doesn't seem remotely bothered by this as he goes, all right, well, I mean, there's the latest records. Maybe you missed something, you'll see something I don't, but no, everything's accounted for.
There's been nothing strange lately, things going missing, or things coming that weren't supposed to be coming.
Not at all. Unless, of course, he looks around him then. and then looks at the two of you, and lowers his tone suddenly. Naturally, we all here serve the Karsburgers, but we serve the Emperor and the Empire before that. Naturally, yes?
Naturally.
Naturally, and of course, the Karsburgers have done well here, but you can see the state of the fucking place. Here, it's not great, is it? No, not great at all. So, if the Toddbringers are truly changing things, well, there's a few people here who would appreciate that.
I regret to have to disappoint you in terms of changes. I don't believe any of those are necessarily upcoming. We're worried about some happenings in the city, something called the Yellow Fang, a group of ne'er-do-wells who've been involved in murders and thefts of various kinds, and we think that they perhaps might have something to do with this, what's happening here. Although, from what you're saying, there's nothing going on here. And I can see that you have a very good system to keep track of what's happening in this place.
He blinks a little and looks a little confused for a moment. Would you both like to roll an intuition check?
That is 77 over 58. I fail, but I will use a point of fortune. And that is 18 under 58. That is 4 degrees of success.
91 over not 91, so Heinrich is obviously distracted by something.
Yes, Heinrich, you are just looking at this absolute mess and thinking to yourself, how are you going to find anything here? This is the Quartermaster's supply office. This is terrible. But you find yourself thinking, he started looking confused the second you said, you've misheard, we're not here on behalf of the Toddbringers to make changes. And it's thrown him a little. Obviously thrown him. He says, alright, well, I wouldn't know about any Yellow Fang. You're not here then? So you're not here to, sort things out for the Graf then?
What is it that you've heard, actually, about us? Because there seems to be all kinds of misunderstandings about our presence here. People being overly suspicious of us. We truly are just here to look into, well, into some strange happenings, that's all. But you have heard something else about us?
No! Of course not! No! Nothing! Why would I?
But you can be honest. It's all right. You can just tell us what you've heard, because it might actually help lead us to what we're looking for.
Well, I mean, my memory's a little faulty, I'm an old man, and so much going on here. I find it's hard, and saving up as well, and keeping things running. Coins always running low.
I think we understand each other, and I'll pass over a little bribe that is of a sufficient quantity. Can I use my bribery skill?
You certainly can. Please make a roll.
Yes, that is a 39 under 45.
Well, a gold crown is putting a bit much on it, but it definitely will work. You could risk 10 silvers, but that might get you a bit of a... You think a gold crown will sort this quite efficiently?
I'll reach out my hand with a gold crown in it, and I'll take his hand and make sure that he has it in his, and then I'll just look at him and say, I fully understand, and yes, it must be tough trying to make things work, especially in such a remote place. But trust me, we are here to help, truly.
Aye, well, he takes the coin quickly and then looks at you. Well, it's just people thought you were here to, that the Toddbringers were here to take the picket line from the Karsburgers, which is terrible, and we would never support that. We're all very loyal to the Karsburgers.
Oh, of course.
But, we are loyal to the Empire first. And he gives you a bit of a look. So, but of course you're not here for that, right? And he gives you a wink.
Mm-hmm. And I'll smile back at him. Of course not. And the trajectory, where you would have gotten this information from, the person who would have indicated that we would have been interested in making changes here, Is that someone you might be able to reveal? If we haven't heard it from you, of course.
Well, no, but I just heard it around. We've all been hearing it around. Must have a couple of days ago, right? I mean, that's not that important, is it? What's important is you need some evidence, don't ya? Maybe I could see to that. You don't need to make another intuition roll. You think he's asking you if you need evidence found, he might fabricate it. Which would be wonderful if you were here to take the lands and do everything that they all think you're here to do. But of course, not good if that wasn't your goal.
And unfortunately, it is not our goal to take this place for the Toddbringers. That's not why they have dispatched us, and I'm not so sure that we would have been all that interested in that anyways. This kind of politicking between different noble families is not exactly something that we want to get ourselves involved in. But I'll look to Heinrich, who has undoubtedly been studying this situation from the side, to see if he wants to interject with some questions.
The idea of fabricating evidence, you can see Heinrich bristling a bit. He'll stand up just a little taller, not for the quartermaster's sake, but for the Krugers. I'm sure if our investigations prove fruitful, there'll be no need to exaggerate the circumstances, Quartermaster.
Oh, well, of course. So wait, why are you actually here then? Sorry, not that that's any of my business.
Yes, Quartermaster, it's less about the things coming in or who's in charge that I'm concerned with. There is a suspicion that powder bearing your house's sigil has been carrying the taint of chaos deeper into the Empire. You say no powder is missing, which does complicate that situation, but that is why we are here. And if it indeed is proven that House Carberger is insufficient in its manning of this line, such that whatever is in that keep is making it out into the Empire, I'm sure that will lead to the circumstances that you desire.
He again looks confused. No need to make a roll here, Kruger. He's thinking of what to say, which is interesting in itself. Why is he taking so much time to think about what he says here? Eventually he does say, well, alright then, I'm at your service, but, well, there's nothing, no smuggling here.
Do I believe him?
Roll an intuition check. Give yourself a +10. Due to your tactics here.
41 under 59.
He's suddenly a little nervous. So, you don't think you do, no?
Well, of course there's no smuggling that you would know about, but perhaps we should just go to the books to be sure, see if we can discover something that might have been missed. After all, you're one man in charge of this garrison.
Sure, of course, if you can... And he gestures to the absolute mess. What do the two of you do? You're in this office, there's all these papers, there's all these crates. You also can see, through a little door, you poke your head, Kruger, and there are storehouses here. In fact, you can even see in the distance some black powder barrels with the sigil of the Carberger family on them.
Do you mind if I go have a look in the warehouse, just to, see if I see anything? I mean, obviously, you're saying that there are no issues, so I'm sure I won't find anything, but we have to be thorough when we report back to the Baron and the Baroness.
Of course, fine. No problem, sir. Happy here to serve, yes.
And I'll smile to him and I'll head out into the warehouse.
While Kruger is doing that, I will happily keep this man occupied. He can show me his books and I will watch him read them to make sure he doesn't get up to anything while Kruger's doing his investigation.
Very well then. Let's do you first then. Heinrich, what sort of roll could we make here? Because you don't have research. You could do perception. Was there anything you think would be more suited? Just looking over this mess? What do you think?
Yeah, I want to ask him to explain it to me, but I don't actually care what the answer is. I'm watching his reaction, so as his fingers traveling over the book, is there something that about his behavior that makes it wrong? Because you're right, I'm not an accountant, so I have no idea what's actually going on, but I'm sure that given how nervous he is, he will make a mistake for me.
Well, then why don't you roll a gossip or charm roll, Heinrich? See how you do as you're trying to just distract this man, but at the same time, watch him carefully.
Yeah, I don't think this is a chance for Heinrich to be charming, but I have the same skill in both, so it's 6 of one and half a dozen of another. Let's see. Yeah, 38 under 50. I am gossipy.
He begins saying a bunch of nonsense that means nothing to you. But as you're listening and looking over the words, and he's showing you all these things, saying lots of times so everything is completely fine, it's almost like it's a bit of a show. It's almost like he's deliberately dropping things and pointing at different parts of the room. Is he trying to be confusing on purpose? You think he is.
Do I get the impression that he is responsible or that he is covering up? I'm trying to drill down on whether the quartermaster is the one smuggling or whether he just knows that there is smuggling happening, but he is responsible for the supplies and he doesn't want to get,
When you think about it, if he's involved, he's involved. Now, is he responsible for the whole thing? Hard to tell, but if he's involved, he's definitely trying to hide it. And of course, earlier, you think this man was quite happy to tell you what you wanted to hear when he thought you were here to seize the place. He's got a lot more nervous now you've started talking about, dare we say, actually doing good.
Fair enough. I'm going to keep this information myself, and then when Kruger comes back, we can play bad cop, bad cop.
Indeed. Kruger Hoffman, you can roll a perception check. At a -10, you begin looking over these barrels, you begin looking over the crates. Let's see if you notice something.
Oh, that's a 19 under 43. So that is 2 degrees of success.
This is quite hard to spot, but you do spot it. You start looking over the barrels. Here they are, barrels of black powder with the Carlsberger sigil on them. And that it's so very slight that if it wasn't for your skills, and perhaps your background, you wouldn't have even noticed it. But you do. While 1 or 2 of the barrels have a very nice sigil on them, you start looking at some of the ones at the back, and they're slightly different. Very slightly different. It's not that they're different in look, it's that they're different in quality. The red paint seems a little less well applied, and you think that the sigil, the shape of the sigil itself, is a little different. Why is that? Why do 2 or 3 of the barrels look nice and official, and some of them look far less official? Now, of course, it might mean nothing at all, but it is interesting, you think to yourself.
It certainly is. It's something that we'd have to look a little bit closer at. Am I able to get closer to these barrels and check out the sigil more directly, or is this going to be a case where I will have to ask for someone to actually come and move these barrels out physically in order to have a good look?
No, but you could just go and look.
I'll do that then.
What do? You go and just try and open one?
Yeah, I'll open it, I'll look at the sigil, I'll study it closely, trying to see is there something that's been painted over, is it poor quality workmanship, does it even look like these are coming from the same place, or is it someone else who's shipping this?
Well, it's definitely poor quality. You scratch a little at it with your finger and it comes off, which is terrible quality. These are supposed to be official noble house black powder military supplies. You open it though and, well, that is black powder, you think. Looks like black powder to you.
I'll take out a little bit of it, just a little bit, just so I can put some flame to it and see if it actually acts like black powder is supposed to. Just a little bit,
Then you take it aside and you do a little quick flint and steel with a small section of gunpowder, and there's a little bit of a flicker. And then you hear an angry voice coming towards you. You look up and you see, coming from the north, again this is all part of the same building, not the quartermaster, not Heinrich, but a dwarf. Quite a heavily armoured dwarf, with a big belt with lots of pouches on it. A big red beard. He just starts marching over. Are you bloody insane, boy? What the hell are you doing? Who let this person in? You gonna want to blow us all up, do you? I mean, I love an explosion as much as the next guy, but what the hell are you doing? Who the hell's in Grungy's name are you? Get away from there, get away! Lighting up a bloody light match in a thing, what?
I'll take a step back from it. Oh, I assure you I was taking the proper precautions. My name is Commissioner Hoffman.
Proper precautions! Proper precautions, this human says. He walks up to a barrel, he takes some powder out, he starts lighting it. Bloody hell, I know humans are crazy, but I've never seen a crazy human in my entire life.
I'll point to the strange barrel. This barrel, it's different from the others, isn't it?
What? No? Is it?
Well, you compare the two, you see, its workmanship is completely different. This is shoddy work. Whoever's done it.
The dwarf goes forward and squints and then just remarks, well, aye, it is shoddy work. It's all been shoddy work. What can I do? That's all we get given.
Who's sending you these?
The Empire. And it's all shit. Bollocks! Doesn't work at all. Well, half of it works, half of it doesn't. I keep telling him. At this point, you can hear this very loud dwarf arguing with your friend, and you see the quartermaster then look at you, Hyrek, and go, Oh, bloody hell. Look here. Look, Degny. Not now, Degny. Oh, not now, eh? What? You know, if the enemy came any moment now, Astrid's not gonna be ready. She ain't gonna be bloody ready. Yeah, I know, Dagny. These are important. I don't care who these bloody people are. What do you two do? There's a little bit of an argument taking place here.
Now. No need to argue. And I'll try to calm the situation down with this dwarf. Obviously, I've made him upset from doing something that is, well, depending on how you look at things, certainly not the safest thing to do, but I did try to take the proper precautions, but I'll see if I can somehow calm him down, if that is possible.
Make a charm check.
Oh, that's great. That's 5 under 45. That's 4 degrees of success.
What do you say exactly?
I will play on the fact that he's mentioned, of course, that they're only being sent crap and well, they're clearly feeling undervalued here, and I'll try to work on that particular part. So I'll say, look, I understand it's tough. You're doing your best out here. You're trying to keep us all safe, and you're not getting the support that you're supposed to be getting. They're not treating you right.
The dwarf gives you a bit of a scowl, and then starts nodding vigorously. Aye, you're right, sir, you're right. I do get no respect round here. Me, I was from the Engineers Guild, you know. I mean, yes, okay, a few incidents here and there, but well, and this, and... What's that? Are you... wait, are you those people from the city? I tell you this, tell them, send some bloody proper black powder. This one keeps making excuses, but you can sort that out.
Well, I mean, obviously you need to be getting the proper black powder, otherwise how are you going to keep the rest of us safe? Say, we've actually been sent to look into why this is happening, and I was wondering if you have any idea of what's causing this, actually.
Well, I'll tell you, this one's a moron. You lot, you humans, you don't know... I've been hearing things. You were taxing the Engineers Guild. Shocking. So that's what I'll tell you. Now, I'm a busy man, but again, if you want to do good here, tell this one, stop coming up with excuses, and actually get some proper supplies. And with that, this dwarf just storms off, leaving you with the quartermaster to say, look, the dwarf's a bit irate, but I keep telling him that this is what we get. I can't magically make black powder appear. This is what we get.
I'll point to the barrel as well to him. I mean, there's clearly some kind of difference here. What you're getting is not the proper stuff. So what's happening to the proper stuff then? Is it being switched out? And if so, where's the good stuff going? Because as far as I understood back in Middenheim, they're not trying to screw you over, but perhaps someone else is?
The man blinks a few times. He adjusts his collar a little. This is very suspicious behavior, Heinrich. Why is he not answering the question?
I stiffen a bit and make a specific show of adjusting my rosette.
Make an intimidate check. Give yourself a plus 20 as you do that.
Oh yeah, 25 under 57.
He sees the gesture, you fiddling with your inquisitorial rosette, and he looks between you and Kruger and you again. It's not my fault. I was made to do it. That's really important. It's not me.
No, of course it's not. But who made you do it?
Well, yeah. And again, it's not me. Like I was forced to. She's my superior. I have to do as he says.
Of course. That you're just following orders.
Then, it's Sergeant Otfried. Yeah. Doesn't Otfried, he's the one who, I think, maybe switches some of the barrels sometimes. Yeah.
That's curious. Do you know why he does that?
Well, I think he's pocketing some coin on the side, making some coin on the side, you know. Maybe selling the black powder to bad folks, terrible folks. And again, I said I would tell. Listen, he said he'd kill me if I told anyone, but I was going to. I was very much going to tell people, but he's been threatening me, and thank goodness you're here. There we go. It's him. It's all him.
Well, that's interesting. I'll look to Heinrich.
Oh, quite interesting.
Sergeant Offreed? Kruger, wasn't that the name of the gentleman who you first met? Well, after the captain, that is. The gentleman at the bridge who was asking a lot of questions.
Yes, I think we met that sergeant, actually, I'll say to Heinrich. On the way here. Well, that's curious. I mean, if that's all that this is, someone skimming a little bit of some light corruption, people trying to get rich off of the shipments, well, it's not unheard of, certainly. I wonder if it's that easy. The question, though, is who's buying?
Well, I wouldn't know. I'm not involved. I'm completely innocent.
No, I believe you.
Yes, like I said, I'm interested in the Empire. Yes, him. Yes. But now you're here, and you can deal with it, and then you can tell the commander as well, and that's why you're here, as you said, because you're not here to do anything else, despite what's been said about you. He's the one, by the way, who's been saying it. Actually, now I think about it, yes, him. It's been him. Yes.
Is that? It's just a little bit too convenient, isn't it? That he's responsible for everything, and...
Well, he's very suspicious. He's a suspicious... I don't know what you're thinking. You're thinking he's a random sergeant. He seems very polite, doesn't he? But he's actually quite secretive sometimes. And he has a lot of friends. And, yeah, it was 2 days ago, I reckon, actually. He's been trying to be subtle about it, you know? He doesn't think I noticed. But I did. I noticed it was him who started talking about you first.
You know, there's been some rather gruesome business that I've had to be responsible for in Middenheim. I don't know if you're aware of the Purple Hand. We had to have a lot of them hung, and before that we had to interrogate them, and it was quite painful. Honestly, it was tough to watch. I tried to look away.
Well, I know. I told you he forced me. He forced me to help.
Yes, and you know, if it would turn out that he actually didn't force you, and that actually you are a little bit more involved than you said you were at first.
Well, then it's my word. Well,
you would come clean now, then. Well, you know, then perhaps there would be some leniency.
Well, of course. Yes, he made me obviously cook the books, didn't he? Yes, he made me do it. Like he came in with sword, pointed at me, said, "You tell anyone, or you're going to be in trouble," and I had to.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were to reveal what actually happened, then we wouldn't have to call in the interrogators.
Well, what do you mean what actually happened? That's what happened. He's been swapping the barrels, he sells them to his friends, and he points a sword at me, and if I tell anyone, he's going to kill me, and of some of the other soldiers with him as well, you know, because he's a sergeant. What was I going to do? I know I should have told the boss, but I was afraid. I'm a coward. I'm a cowardly man, I admit that.
Do I believe him?
Roll an intuition check. Plus 10.
That is 27 under 68. So that is 4 degrees of success.
I mean, this is certainly a story. A good one. You might believe him. It does occur to you that he isn't even in this situation going to confess to, "It's all my idea or my plan," because he will then be executed. So perhaps there is still a bit of a lie here, but a lot of it sounds plausible.
Well, then I'm satisfied with that. All right, well, listen, we'll talk to the sergeant, and we'll see if the stories match up.
Oh, of course, but remember though, he's going to say, no, actually, he might even say it's all my idea, or he's involved, or I've been paying him, and it'll be lies, I tell you.
Well noted. We'll remember that. thank you for being so forthcoming about everything. And should there be anything else that you would like to get off your chest, this would be a good time before, we find out some other way.
Of course.
Nothing then, I say smiling.
No, go get him. He's probably gonna. I reckon if you're questioning now, he's probably gonna try Scarper at any minute.
Well, we better get to him quickly then, I say, and I'll bow and I'll nod to Heinrich. Well, I think we have what we need here, unless you want to keep looking through the books.
No, but I would hate to leave the room and have something happen. So if you don't mind, I'm going to have my associates spend some time with you.
Oh, of course. Sure thing, associates, yes.
And then I will summon Emmeline and Berta to come watch him. I'd like them to ask the same questions that we did, essentially over and over and over again, and wait for him to crack. Who knows, maybe he will find additional honesty while Kruger and I are off somewhere else.
Certainly. Well, you quickly call to them, and they quickly come over. And at that point, as you start walking back to the bridge, well, that's when you notice Gerna and Siegfrieda coming your direction. It seems you all have a few things to tell each other. As the day goes on, and the afternoon begins to draw over the picket.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign, The Enemy Within, for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this fourth part of the series, we are tackling The Horned Rat. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Ager Sonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label, Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambience. We'd like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Antxon, Graham Barey, Doug Thomson, and Lily for their generous support. And we would of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to our Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay bonus campaign, Rough Nights and Hard Days, as well as bonus campaigns for Cult Divinity Lost and Call of Cthulhu. On top of that, we also offer early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that supports what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real. And even if they were, well, the Emperor has already dealt with that threat.